And let's pretend this never happened. This is the week 4 and final discussion group for the SAF4ERU exercise. So you know by now the discussion group agreement. We've skipped over the quick poll and the catch-up session. I just want to share this reminder. If for whatever reason you need more time or you've been deployed, and there's a few people that we've been in touch with about that, we will be organizing during that week and that week only an opportunity to basically pick up where you left off and finish. All right, and you'll be with other people who are also catching up. You may not be at the same place. For peer review, we'll figure out how to get 3 people. We'll probably call on people who finished the exercise or call on people who are catching up. And basically, if you want to finish, you're going to get the chance during that that week. Now, there's some amazing feedback in the week 3. Feedback, and it was so amazing, and because this is the last week, I wanted to include as much of it as I could. Don't worry, I'm not going to read it. Here you can see a lot about motivation. One comment I loved is one person who said, "You've become a part of my everyday life." I did not expect that. We were hoping that might happen, but are very pleased to see that this is something that at least some of you are reporting. So, some very positive feedback also about your motivation and why you were so motivated. A lot of it has to do with being able to engage with your peers. On the learning time, so I think have found a balance. Less than half of you are finding that you ended up spending more time than you anticipated. I'll take that as a good sign. The idea also of what impact this exercise has had on internalizing the Safer Access framework, on giving and receiving feedback. You told us a lot about the value of peer review and how it helped you. You told us that peer review was challenging, but that it was also the most useful part of the exercise, that you face dilemmas of constructive criticism, as you can see here. And I invite you to go through after this session or later in the day. I invite you to, let me just, if people are having trouble with the sound, I think I may need to turn off the webcams. So so some of the dilemmas that you faced are those that are familiar to us. They're good dilemmas to have. And you also asked a lot of questions about how do you evaluate fairly, for people who've submitted incomplete projects, for example. On the difficulty, so again, we have a nice sort of range of experiences that reflects the diversity in the course. And you did report, and we want to acknowledge the challenges of peer review. For those of you, small but significant proportion, because if it's you, that's a sample of one, but it's what you have to work with, receiving poor quality feedback, having colleagues who did not honor their commitment. Yes, those are things we're aware of, and what I saw was participants supporting each other this week to overcome these challenges. That was especially inspiring. So yeah, Diane, hello to you. I myself had 5 minutes. It was 5 minutes late. I had trouble joining the the session, but here we are. So just think about how amazing this is, having more than 69 people now connected at the same time from probably 30 to at least 30 different countries. And so, if there are technical problems, that should be put in the perspective of how amazing this is to start with. On the support, yes, one thing I wanted to highlight, I was so happy to see one person who said, for colleagues who haven't changed their title, please do this now. We have actually 2 videos to explain how to do this. It's not that complicated, but I recognize it's not intuitive. You don't just click on the title. You have to go dig in the menu and find that. One person raised an interesting concern about people who've lost their way. So yes, there have been some losses. We've been in touch with people and we're tracking sort of why they haven't been able to pursue. Most of it has to do with life, with work. So it's deployments. I would say it's sort of work-related stuff that takes over and doesn't leave any time to work on the exercise. And second is deployment. So another kind of work. We were interested in what helped you. Yes, and how what you found most useful in doing the work during week 3, which is focused on peer review. Yes, and Eliette points out that in France there are strikes right now, I believe, for the trains. So, Diane is lucky if she was able to get a train. So, about the learning objectives, we thought that there would be, in fact, a slow and steady progression towards so the objectives that we set for the exercise, but we're also finding that people gained a lot of things that we were hoping for, but did not even dare put down as learning objectives because they seem too intangible and sort of too aspirational. So for people to give this sense of community, to give and get this sense of community, to feel connected to each other, to feel that Red Cross spirit, as one person put it. So, also heartening to see how you perceive this as relevant. And again, we've been asking you about Eureka moment. Some of you are wondering, what's this, Eureka moment business? So, this is what we're looking for, sort of, significant learning that's hard to produce in other ways, but that we believe this intense process of this sort of espresso concentrate of reflection and analysis and thinking about thinking and so dialogue, we think kind of brews these kinds of moments. So really interesting to see some of what you reported. And you can, of course, as usual, download the slide deck from the materials panel, and it'll be posted in the community later if you want to take your time to go through the feedback and add some comments of your own. But we got tons of feedback, including on the holy grail for training, which is how am I able to apply this? And many of you reported that you're definitely considering that this is a useful, applicable training you can use for your next deployment, and some of you are even already starting to use it. So I think we'll be going until 8:40 to give us more time for the presentations and to make up for my being late. Of course, if you have to go at 1:30, that's the agreement. Just to review what you're supposed to do during this week. So we want to see the difference. If you've ever seen the advertising on television or that says, here's the person before and here's the person after. So we want you to think about your creator project before, the first version you drafted now 3 weeks ago. And we want that final version to be substantially improved, so in ways that matter with respect to the two overarching aims of this exercise. One is the better, the more detailed, the more specific, the more so the better the story of the case study, the better it will help, the more it will help people who are going to face-to-face ERU training and who will sit down and perhaps end up looking at one of your stories and discussing it and thinking about it. So, just imagine that group of, maybe 10, 15, 20 people around the table, and they're going to be looking at your case study. Make sure that what you have in there is actually as much as you can, you can do to describe the operation, to describe your entry as ERU or the entry of your team, and all these other parts that we acknowledged, and this was in the peer review feedback, sometimes overlap and make it difficult to tell the story. But do the best you can. Don't worry so much about the rubric now. Worry about making it the best story that you can, and demonstrate in the final version that you have now mastered this process of looking at the 8 SAF elements, picking out which ones matter in that context, and then identifying actions and justifying, explaining why those actions you believe will improve safer access for the operation, but also for the longer term work of the National Society. So yes, the 18th, so is the project due the 19th or the 18th? So it's basically the evening of yes, so let me just add that. Yeah, so it's like that. Now, as you know, given that this is the last phase, I don't want to encourage this by any means, but if you need until Saturday morning, for example, you can do that. You can also use the request form if you need extra time. Now, why should you bother with this request form one more time, even though the exercise is over? It's because we're going to be preparing certificates. Unless you've told us you're going to be late, if you haven't finished, we won't be preparing your certificate unless you tell us that you may not care about the certificate, but it's still, we consider it's our commitment that we deliver one to you if that's if once you've met the requirements. So obviously within the final final week, so I don't need to go over that. On permission to use the case study, before I turn to Panu and to say a word about the ending of this exercise, and then we'll move to participant presentations. I do want to highlight that you'll be receiving a publishing agreement. So this is automated in Scholar. It's called a publishing agreement, but really it's about using your case study in upcoming ERU trainings. It's not going to end up in public places, which may be confusing because of the term. So again, just to reassure you, anybody who has a concern about anything about their case study, we won't use anything until those concerns have been worked out. And you'll actually have a button that lets you say, I want to discuss my case study first before I can agree to sharing it for upcoming ERU trainings. Just a reminder, these are the 5 requirements for certification. So don't let it be a shock if you know you haven't done some of these things. Then don't be surprised if you get an email from Hannah saying that you haven't done them and offering you a chance to make them up, so you don't get left out of the participation. So yes, so the 19th, that's kind of the 19th through the 18th. Basically, it's on the evening between Friday and Saturday at midnight is what we're trying to get at. All right. So let me now turn to Panu. It'd be interesting to hear. Panu, you'll need to unmute yourself, and would love to hear from you before we ask participants. So just to show you what's yeah, Panu, are you able to hear us? Let me send an unmute request. All right. Okay, looks like I'm not the only one having trouble, but anyway, so we won't be hearing from Panu right away, but so let's go to the participant presentations. So if you would like to share your experience of revising your case study, this is also to help encourage people who are finding that kind of daunting. Just tell us what you got from peer review, tell us what decisions you've made about the revision, and then tell us how you're going about it. Panu, yes, that works, yeah. All right.
Great. I'm moving.
Yeah, Panu,
I was driving, so I changed network. That's why it was problematic. So good morning to everyone, and congratulations for everyone for making it thus far. I'm truly impressed. It's really precious to listen to the engagement and dedication to the peer review process, which probably turns into learning on multiple levels, because that is the type of ERU delegates and delegates for international deployments we want to have, those who solve problems jointly, unprompted, and work for the team. So that is truly great, and I hope that we can highlight that value in the outcome documents of this training as well. A couple of things that are going to happen now as we are closing this 4-week exercise. I'm just walking into the annual Healthcare in Danger meeting with ICRC and 27 national societies, where I'm representing the IFRC, and I will tell everybody about this impressive course and the dedication of you all, and what we have achieved and what we still aim to achieve with the results of this training. So the timing couldn't be better. I'm literally walking into Ecosia right now, where the national societies, ICRC and IFRC, some external partners, will convene for 3 days and discuss healthcare in danger, where obviously the SAF4ERU is truly relevant. Second thing that we will be preparing, where I'm going to be directly involved, is to create the performance enhancing package. I think that's how we called it, which is the results of this and your inputs after your approval, that we can use them, and that turns into like a lesson plan with visuals and stories about application of safer access framework in ERU operations. some of the challenges and some of the smart practices, and we will pilot that package in the ERU training in Ontario, Canada. That is going to happen the second week of June. So immediately after this, we will start producing the visuals and lesson plans of that, and then we will pilot that first in Canada, and the second time will be in August in the Norwegian ERU training. And part of that process is, as Reda mentioned, the collection of your approvals to use your stories. So rest assured that we will go through the due process. Thank you very much. I unfortunately need to disconnect because I'm walking into a meeting. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Panu. All right, so yes, your work is going to be put to use unless there are indeed sensitive issues. I see only one hand raised, and that's Ranveig Feitnes, who's kindly indicated that she's ready to share. So let's go to Ranveig. How are you this morning?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you? Can you hear me?
Well, yes, loud and clear, loud and clear.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
So I can give you permissions to share your screen so that you may show your project in Creator. Do you feel ready to do that?
The problem is I don't know how to do that. I need to open the Creator first, and yeah, that I can do. But
Yeah.
I'm not sure
That's
if
all
you
you need.
can see it.
Not yet, of course, but I'm
Okay.
now sending you the request to share your screen. So you should see something on your screen that asks you, yes, there you go, perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, let's see
all
if
right.
I can find it then. I go to notifications.
Yeah, and just to remind.
Yeah.
All right, then just to remind you, I've pasted into the chat, you've got 5 minutes to show and explain your final project. And what we're interested in is how are you making it better this time around? So of course, tell us about what helped you about the peer review feedback, but really we want to know what substantive changes are you going to make that will improve, that will make this a better case study, and why? All right?
I'll do my best.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah,
I actually
I'm
got
starting
5
the clock now.
reviews. Can you? I just heard a lot of noise. Can you hear me? Okay, I'll try. I actually got 5 reviews, which is very encouraging. 2 of them I found to be very useful because they actually have sort of recommendations on what to do, like enrich your story with example photos of the meeting with the Nazis, which I have then included, hopefully. So I didn't have any photos myself because I don't take photos, but I got some from a colleague who worked there at the same time as I was. Then some of the reviews really wasn't that useful. Like this one, it doesn't help me at all. So I found 2 of the reviews to actually give good feedback. And this one, for instance, there are not really any solutions. How do you want to improve the communication with the host society? Which I knew that what we learned part was the last part of the case study, so it was the one that I'd worked the least with. So I knew it wasn't ready when I submitted the first time, but this really helped me. What do you want to improve, to improve the communication? So I filled in that, worked with it extensively yesterday evening. So the chapter on lessons learned, yeah, here are the photos. They're not extremely good, but it says something, I think, to enhance the story. But what I've really worked on is this part, what we learned. And I did have the bullet points, but I've tried to put in what do I want to do to improve the communication with the host national society. So I think that's the most important part. But then I had one problem. This one said, for me, it's too long in detail, but that is my personal opinion. That's fine. And then I said, I tried to send a message back saying, thank you so much for your feedback. It is highly appreciated. You said that you think my case study is too long in detail. Could you give me any advice on what I should remove? But then I don't know how to send it. And I tried checking in notification if there was a message which had been sent, but I can't find it. So any advice on that would be good. Other than that, I've worked through it from top to bottom just to make sure my language is clear and take out spelling errors and all that kind of stuff. And I've added a couple of photos because the review I got was fairly good, but the lowest was on focus and creativity. So I tried to shorten it, and I tried to put on some more photos and stuff. Yeah, I think that's it.
Great, thank you very much. That's great. So yeah, I think, yeah, I've asked the group if someone can help you submit your comments. There should be, you should find a submit button. Now I see you may be using the one browser we don't recommend, which is Microsoft Edge. So maybe the problem is related to, oops. Okay, hang on, I am, are you able to hear me now?
Yeah, it might be my headphones that aren't that good, but
okay, do other people have problems hearing me? All right, so Heliat has already answered you. You can send your comment by scrolling down the view reviews page and you'll find the submit button there. Okay, and other folks seem to be hearing me okay. So it's probably a local issue with your
submit
audio.
overall feedback. Is that one?
Yeah, it's probably, yeah.
Oh, not.
So yes. Right, and then you'll need to, so of course you'll need to fill in these comment slots, but maybe somebody else, somebody can reach out to you either on the WhatsApp group or just or in this chat and just follow up with you to make sure you can get those feedbacks back to your reviewer. Thank you very much, Ranvega. It is just like in the real world when you receive feedback. In some cases, you don't get what you were hoping for, which is constructive suggestions, and that's why we emphasized first, the mutual responsibility you have to each other, and then we try to provide some guidance on what does it mean to give sort of useful, good feedback. So that's one presentation. We should have time for one more. So we started late, so we're now over time, but I do want to hear at least one more presentation. And let me just grab the presenter rights back from Ranveig. And so if you feel ready, do raise your hand. Let me see if there are any other hands raised. All right, it's funny because we're running parallel to this course. We have a course on immunization with immunization workers, 115 immunization workers from 20 countries, West African Francophone countries. And the discussion group, we have typically 15 to 20 people who raise their hands pretty much at the same time when it comes time to present. So it's the contrast is startling, because I know that if you're here in week 4, you've worked very hard to produce your case study. Most of you by this point have also been revising, or at least thought about your revision, looked at the peer review feedback. That's what we'd like to hear about. So any takers? And we'll hear one last presentation. It'd be good to get more than one for this last session. All right, otherwise maybe everyone is in a hurry and we will close this session nearly on time, despite it having started late. Okay, so all you need to do is click on the little hand raised icon, but it looks like maybe we won't have a second presentation. So that's okay. There's been so much great work and collaboration and dialogue in this exercise. If you don't feel the need to present, then we can call it a day. All right, last call. Yes, and I just want to emphasize this issue of permissions. So what happens once you, maybe not right away, it should happen on Saturday. I have to check. If not, I'll post an update just to show you what to expect. But basically, you'll receive a new notification, this time asking you for permission. You'll be able to review the agreement, which is pretty standard. But yes, and basically, if you have any concern about the use of your case study, I think you heard what the intent is and how useful it is going to be, or potentially. If you have any concerns, just reach out to us so we can discuss them with you if needed. We can talk to whoever's sort of permission, or whoever else, if there are other folks involved, we'd need to discuss on this. So don't panic and think, oh, what is going to happen to my case study? Whatever happens to it, you will know, and it will not happen without your consent. I hope that's clear enough, because I know that came up at least from a few people, but perhaps some of the people who were in fact thinking about some of the sensitive issues, we do want the insider story. So the stuff that doesn't happen, that doesn't get into the reports, stuff you have to read between the lines. We want to know what really happened. Think about that group of ERU trainees sitting down together, and they're going to need the full details, what really happened, the real deal, if you will, to make sense of it. So that's it. If there are just people who would like to say any last words about this exercise, because this will be the last time that we meet online. So to answer Carolyn, so no, the case study and the project is the same thing. It's just in Creator, sort of files, are called projects. And yeah, on the length, don't worry so much about the length. That can always be edited, especially on the description of what happens. That's the really important part. So Christian says, all right, I haven't seen all of these comments. All right, so let's hear from Dave Luddington. Let me see. Yeah. Yes, Dave, and I believe you are. Yes, indeed, and I believe you're not quite at home, are you?
No, I got deployed to Bangladesh, where it is absolutely pouring with rain, unsurprisingly. So look, I just wanted to take the opportunity to thank you and Hannah and the rest of your team for navigating us through this. You had initially over 200 people that you were trying to herd, a bit like cats, and I'm sure that was a really challenging task. I personally have found this an extremely interesting, challenging, and helpful exercise, and I very much appreciate the work that people who reviewed my somewhat long case study put into to read it and to come back to me. It was extremely helpful, and without wanting to show it to you, it's actually been very good in giving me some clues as to how I can improve the tone and the content, which I've now done. So thank you all very much, and it's been great being part of the community.
Thank you, Dave. Any other final words? If you want to raise, if you weren't willing to present your work, and you just want to say a word to each other or about your experience of this exercise, you've given us so much great feedback, but it'd be nice to hear your voices. And I'm sorry that when we have many people in the discussion groups, very few people we get to actually hear from, but I hope that's okay. So yes, all right, I see Guru Dev and then Ibrahim. So let's hear from Guru Dev. You'll need to unmute yourself. And my message to you just, is basically to your ERU coordinators, to if your staff, to people in your society, tell them about this experience. You heard Panu, he's going to the Healthcare in Danger meeting to share, what he observed was quite so remarkable about this experience. If you think this is good and would like to see more of this, we need, you need to be the ones to, you're the best place to say that. Guru Dev, yes, what would you like to
Yeah. Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you to everybody for giving me the feedback, and Rita for you for organizing this every week in and out. And I mean, I found this a little bit hard at the beginning, and now I feel I'm on the roll, and I had really started enjoying it, and it's coming to an end. And it has been really good for me, the safer access thing. And here in New Zealand, we're just going to be starting our impact training next week, and then the security training. And it's really good to take this to that training. I mean, I would be one of the facilitators. And yeah, it's been really good for me. And
Sorry, Gurudev, for some reason you were muted. Everyone just went mute. Are you able to unmute yourself? Love to hear the last part of that sentence.
yeah, no, I was saying that I mean, if I had this training, what I know now when I was in the field, I mean, all my life, everybody's life would have been so much easier, and the stress on me would have been so much less. So thank you, everybody, for the feedback that you've given me and helped me with my learning. And I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have.
Great. Thank you, Gurudev. That's very interesting. Anyone else? I don't see any other hands raised, but this has been a very, let's say, a very productive, yes, intensely, intense dialogue, but quite shy when it comes to turning on the microphones, which yes, can happen. So just to read some of the great feedback for folks who are viewing the recording. So let me see. So we have, just to go back a little bit. Yes, so Eliade said, intense but enriching. What I liked most was how committed it made us be. I felt involved and motivated. It's hard to achieve such an involvement when creating an online course. So well done. Thank you. Yeah, that's, but that's on you. You guys and gals did that. And managed to find ways to connect that meant something to each of you. Not everybody, yes, but not everybody makes it. This requires a lot of intense thinking and writing, which is not everybody's cup of tea. We recognize that and try to be upfront about that in the beginning. So let me see. So we're discussing the length of the case studies. Don't worry too much about that. Do try to be concise and not to put stuff that's not sort of do copy paste type of things, but I think you know that already. Christian says, thanks from my side too. I was impressed about the organizing team and the support that was given. The guidance to master the technical tool was great. That's good to hear. Oscar Lorente, I enjoyed the training, but I missed more technical presentations and visuals on some elements of the staff. However, it was an amazing experience. Well done. Yeah, so we try to find the balance, but really, because there's such excellent ICRC resources, we know that you're smart people. You will go and find the resources, the presentations, and all the stuff that the ICRC already has. So we focused on what you produced using your experience, but we understand that need, and certainly there's also a transition with Kathy leaving to a new role, and we weren't really given a new person that we could call on for the technical presentations from the ICRC side. I understand that there is actually somebody, but that's, I mean, that's life. Lai Wai Kiat, thank you for the experience from being lost in first week, being intense in week 2 and 3. Now in week 4, just need to push forward and hope everything's gonna be okay. Thank you, Reda Panuhana, for your support. You're welcome. Not forgetting all our friends here. Do keep in touch and be safe. Tutti fratelli. Thank you for the experience. Okay, yeah, that was saying it twice. Yes. So Kevin Lowe, thanks to our teammates from Malaysia. We also want to acknowledge the role of the team leaders in keeping people for those societies that had one or more people, keeping them on their toes. That was much appreciated. The coffees that you shared with each other, I hope some of them have turned into friendships and that you'll stay in touch beyond this exercise. And Dr. Uwezeimana Gedeon says, I thank everyone for participation and especially the organizers, I would like to ask you to remain receptive as you were during this period of the exercise. And Alain hopes to see you in another training session. All right, that's great. Apologies for the technical issues in this session. I'm just going to unmute everyone so we can say goodbye to each other. And you know, you're not done yet. You're midweek. You have 2 more days to revise, substantively improve, and finish that case study. Make it as good as you can make it. Let us know if you need more time. And some of you will be seeing each other again in the catch-up session. So take care. It's been a wonderful Red Cross, Red Crescent experience for me. Yes, many years ago, I was just working at the Federation. I've stayed in touch ever since, and look forward to seeing some of you in the future, running into you in perhaps unexpected places where we might end up. I hope someday working side by side with you. I have been really impressed with this group, and yes, would love to have you as colleagues, and yes, to work side by side at any point in the future. Take care, all of you. Bye bye. And if you'd like to unmute yourself and make yourselves heard, please do so now.
Bye bye all. It's been great working with you lot.
Bye.
Goodbye, all.
Bye. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
Goodbye, everyone. Bye.